There's physics, there's chemists, there's people doing really fundamental physics, there's people doing theory. Everything you can do with a laser or think about with a laser you can find in some way here. Hello, my name is Maximilian Binzer. I'm a PhD student at the TUM School of Natural Science in the group for Dynamic Spectroscopy of Professor Hauer. In the group of dynamic spectroscopies, we use light in order to investigate molecules or natural light harvesting complexes. Basically, we are cooperating with many chemists in order to help them understand their molecules better. And we build methods basically to better understand the structure and the energy transfer inside of these molecules. So in my case, I built and developed spectroscopic methods for transient absorption anisotropy and intensity cycling, which basically looks at how the chemical molecules react to different intensities and directions of light and compares this. Basically, you're using physics to get a very fundamental view of chemistry here. So you're at the border between two of the most fundamental sciences, and you get a good view into both of them. So a typical sample for us to look at is natural light harvesting complexes, so molecules in nature which harvest light from the sun for different wavelengths. And of course this is interesting if you're looking into photovoltaic and you want to copy nature. But it's also materials which are supposed to interact with light, like for spin electronics, are of interest for us. I did my master thesis very close by. I built lasers there, and if you build a tool like that, of course you also want to use it. So I looked into which groups in the Munich area are doing cool stuff with lasers and are using femtosecond lasers, and so I found the group for dynamic spectroscopy and did my PhD now there. For us, it's a 50-50 split between the lab and the office, but it doesn't mean that you spend half a day in the office and half a day in the lab, but more like you spend a few weeks in the lab and then a few weeks analyzing your data in the office. So it's an equal split between planning setups, building setups, aligning optics, programming your experiment itself, and then at some point programming the analysis of the data and interpretation. I like both the building and the programming stuff, and of course the best part is always when it finally works and everything fits together. So for my first paper, something like shot by shot an anisotropy measurement. I don't know.
Would you watch that movie?
If I didn't know what anisotropy was, maybe, then it sounds a bit like an action movie. If you're doing research, you're doing something which you don't know beforehand that it will work out in some way in the end. So you have to be really dedicated to stick to it and to get it to work. And at the same time, you shouldn't be trapped by trying to perfect everything from the very beginning, and just be content with getting it to work in a reasonable time frame. I especially like the company visit and the alumni days, which we did a lot in the past few months, because there you get a view of like your fellow students who finished the IMPRS and are still sticking to the topics they learned here and are still working in the same field and are continuing what they started here. The IMPRS is a very different groups of people, because not only do they come from all over the world, but there's also like physics, there's chemists, there's people doing really fundamental physics, there's people doing theory. Everything you can do with a laser or think about with a laser you can find in some way here. So I always found that interesting, and it stops you from limiting yourself to just your own research and getting tunnel view. So if you're working in a laser lab, at some point you're going to start missing sunlight, because you can't have sunlight interfering with your experiments, and so you spend a lot of time in a dark cellar. And especially in the Munich area, there's a lot of fun things to do outside, like swimming, skiing, hiking. But I also like to read a lot, and I haven't lost the passion for reading just because I have to read a lot for work now too.